Welcome to the final series, the last best of 3 today. Thank you for wubbing on your way in here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's unfortunately a team kill scenario, but only one of these two Terrans can make it through the second place match and compete in the ZOTAC season finals. Spawning here in the top right. He's red, he's Terran. We've seen him several times today. We see him for one last time. It's Empire Happy. And his opponent to the lower right, also from Empire, also seen him earlier today. Give it up for Koss. You wub till it's sore, that's right. Out of context, in context, I don't give a fuck. TVT is a bit of a fickle matchup right now, actually. Once upon a time, this match was probably my favorite, the most revered, like, out of all of the matchups, and I'm not talking just mirror matchups. The problem of what's kind of devolved from this matchup, though, is we're seeing a lot of abrupt endings to TVTs. I mean, it's really got two courses of action right now. Either the game ends very quickly, very early, or we go to this really nice macro game where you see multiple bases, sometimes battle cruisers, tank lines, what have you. The reason this is kind of coming into play is, you know, for a long time we saw Banshee versus Banshee. Okay, so that got figured out. Then people started realizing, because a lot of players don't go for heavy medevacs or any medevacs early on, sometimes one medevac with 3 Hellions and about 7 Marines dropped and pushed can break a player, and it's so stupid to consider, but we've seen some of the best pros fall to that build exactly. Mech has become a little bit more favorable as well. Mech is of course, like I'm talking French to you, of course has started to have some of its holes figured out as well, because everyone's playing mech, everyone's finding how to beat mech at the same time. And one of the biggest problems with mech is doom drops, and that's kind of what we see. It's either great engagements with huge spread out lines of marauders, or we see a doom drop in the middle of the map. The least common, the least visited matchup we're seeing a lot of right now, though, is mech versus mech. This was flavor of the month, I'd say, for a good 4 months. And then people kind of started realizing, like, it's just not the way to go. But if it is going to be mech versus mech, we're going to see a ton of Hellions, we're going to see a ton of Vikings, and it'll be a lot of fun. But I'm waiting to see if anyone takes their second freaking gas so we can talk about whether it's Banshees or not. But no one opting to do just that. Factory coming down here pretty quickly for Koss. Happy in the meantime, he did go for a Reaper opener. He's looking to scout around for his opponent, but didn't go for a faster command center as a consequence yet. He's got the minerals for it. I'm waiting to see if he slaps that down. Yeah, okay, so it is going to be a faster command. It's not just a faster command center. Hold on. It's a hidden command center. This is really cool. First off, this Reaper not going to quite get anything done just yet. Heal up and come back for round 2, but a lot of the times as a Terran player, you are actually forced. Oh, I gotta close bets. I'm sorry, guys. Alright. A lot of the times as a Terran player, you're forced to use a scan at some point in the matchup to scout. You want to know whether your opponent's got a factory down, whether it's 3 factories, whether it's mech, Banshees, whatever. But the one thing that's going to happen is Koss, no matter how much he scans, he's not going to see a natural base. And I don't know, the problem is, if you prepare for a 1-base play as a Terran, like if you're expecting Happy to do a 1-base play at you, you're actually going to be in a lot of trouble, because you won't have the right composition for the macro game he'll play a little bit later after you've sat at home for too long. These Reapers are going to barely... Ooh, one actually goes down. That's a bit rough. Corpse just sitting there. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a bit rough. Now, what Happy did that I think is really kind of crazy is he put this command center down, right? But he did it before Koss had scouted. So Koss doesn't know where Happy is. And because this is kind of dicking around with that one Reaper, he's going to scout. But Koss may also not go past the main. And if he doesn't, he won't find this base. And Happy's going to get away with it. Yeah, Koss thinks, alright, there's nothing down there. And that's just insane. Like, it's so weird to consider. Like, you just take like an extra 2 steps or whatever down here. Nailed it. You shut Happy down. In fact, he probably almost loses the game off of that, right? Back at home, we have a bunker set up. This looks a little bit odd to see, but I think he knows he can't defend against Hellions that come up here. The Marine count in this medevac, though, is almost game-ending. This sounds so stupid, but it's like I was talking about before. If these drop anywhere around, none of the Hellions are really going to be able to deal with this unless these Marines clump up in a foolish manner. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Engineering Bay on the way. We do have a second gas I haven't taken out of the Koss at this point, and we don't... I think he'll probably get a tank out and then maybe swap to Banshees if he sees the opportunity, but I mean, seeing the opportunity is not going to be easy. This is kind of a cool move. I love that Koss left the Hellions on close to the ramp there. That lets him lift these up right afterwards after covering from the SCVs. And now, actually, Happy has to pull workers into this. But of course, you never pull workers into Hellions. Just bottom line. It's StarCraft 2 101. Loses his medevac, unfortunately, which takes a lot of power away from this push. But damn, if Koss isn't killing a lot of workers behind this. 14 have died. He killed a lot of Hellions and Marines hand in hand with that. And let's not forget, Happy is on a third base, not 2, as Koss may just think is the later command center. Actually, didn't scout that. A little unfortunate. Well, he's got a tank up back at home, so counterattack's not the scariest thing in the world. And, yeah, I don't know. Vikings looking pretty good. Third command center on the way here for Koss. The only difference is, again, he doesn't know that Happy's on 3, right? Like, it's the difference of knowing versus actually having it happen. I think after a while in a TV2, you start realizing, too, like, okay, you're on 2 bases, I'm on 3. There's no way you're keeping up with me in tank counts and even engagements, disengaging and whatnot. Oh no, I'm being ignored. Who's ignoring Angelicar? Yo, not cool, guys. Angelicar's the best. Well, okay, maybe not the best, but she's awesome. You know who's the best? Rifkin. Anyways, Hellions coming across the map. Gonna awkwardly run into a couple of tanks here. Not a lot these can do against tanks, sadly. Marines, no problem. Fry them alive. Barbecue. Oh, look at Koss, guys. He's gonna find this base. He's rallied all over the map. And he's going to find this base. What's really unfortunate, though, is now there's just nothing Happy can really do about that but evacuate. Lifting off is not a problem, but you don't want to invest in trying to statically defend a base across the map like this. I mean, let's not forget, too, a drop. It's going to be so hard to actually hold off if Koss decides to do this. So he may pull the SCVs, he may lift off, he may come back home. I don't know what the choice is going to be, but Koss is going to be kind of like, you cheeky bugger. Air control here is really important. Loses his, unfortunately. There's a couple Marines on the ground, but there's no good way to utilize this medevac full, or these siege tanks rather, without that vision. These Vikings will always give Happy the advantage in that regard, and now Koss is sent back home. He's going to wrap around and perhaps drop the natural. There's not a lot here to drop, though, because of course we all know it's all been invested down here. Happy is sending some SCVs back home. Honestly, at this point, if he's going to leave the command center here, it might be better off just simply mule. Pull all the actual SCVs back home, and then just mule drop, if nothing else. But instead, no, Happy's going to go the other direction with that. Instead of playing safe, he's going to play wild and crazy and throw down another command center. Because for Koss, I mean, the logic's got to be, right? Like, okay, you snuck one base. There's no way you would sneak another. But Happy's going to sneak another freaking base. He'll get the command center out of here alive. There's no way he loses this base, but he's going to lose the SCVs here, which is a little unfortunate. More tanks coming in. He's just going to lift up. That kind of sucks. Kind of a cool move out of Happy, but very bold at the same time. Back at home, Koss gearing up for that bio. Stims on the way, so is combat shields. Knowing that Happy is playing mech. Again, this is something we're kind of seeing a lot of. Whether it's drop harass, or whether it's doom drops, or whether it's just spreading your units out. The downside to mech is it takes a while to move and it takes a while to produce. You're not going to have a lot of tanks out anytime soon. Whoa, Happy. What are you doing? He's got a Marine there. He's just shooting up. Plop, 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 plop. Anyways, Marines and tanks starting to move out a little bit. This was something he had gone for a push before, but was unable to do because of the fact that Happy had set up that really nice Viking spread. He had air control in every way. This seems really stupid, guys, but this is actually really important he put this down, because Happy cannot expand anywhere else. I think what Koss is trying to do from this point to the end of the game is if he can't push in to win, he's going to set up a contain. And he'll make sure that Happy never takes this as a third base. But he won't know that Happy's actually on 3, because he's got this one. He's just mule it like crazy, he'll build some SCVs, no big deal. Of course, if I was cast at this point, you know, that's when you send out another Marine, you get a little bit paranoid, make sure there's not another base down or something, but both players scanning each other. Get a good eye of what's going on. These medevacs did want to go dive in there, but unfortunately driven back by those Vikings. And the problem is when you're playing against a mech player, you're never going to have the air superiority. It's very rare that you get that. A lot of times you think like, oh, you got Marines, they'll shoot up, it's not a big deal. But more often than not, it's just not the case. The Vikings have such range to them. The hit and run mechanics, picking off medevacs, picking off your opponent's Vikings, giving you just sheer vision to your own tanks. These are all critical things that Vikings do. And looks like Koss did kind of catch something was up. Goes for another sort of walk around with these Marines. Happy It's not even like he can do anything about this either. It's kind of funny. It's just kind of distract Koss. Koss is going to think like, okay, I got a Marine at every base. You're not building anything else anywhere. But, again, the nose knows. It's like, just sneaky. As these mules drop, the longer this is alive, the more beneficial it becomes. Eventually, this will probably be forced to lift off, and I don't imagine Happy will be able to stay here for very long. But I think he's already got the worth out of the command center, so to speak. Like, this command center's already paid for itself. If he can live any longer, even better, of course. Happy has landed the orbital in a very unconventional spot because he wants to be able to use the energy from it, not because he has any plans to mine from it anytime soon. God, that is so stupid to look at. But as the tank count gets higher, what gets really unfortunate for Happy is he doesn't really have a way to get out of his own base. You never want to come out of this choke 2 tanks at a time. Koss will wreck you. He's got no drops really set up or available. This Banshee's a cool move. I like this a lot because the tank line from Happy will zone out the Marines from moving forward to pick this off. Unfortunately, the siege tank will die. Yeah, so unless a turret comes down, unless an SCV comes across the map, this tank line's going to have to back and scooch up just a bit. But in doing so, then allows Happy to possibly come out of that ramp. Again, I can't even get over how cool this ninja base is. But back at home, Koss's production's looking great. He's even mixing in a couple Thors himself. A big part of this is not because he's worried about, you know, the Thors doing damage or anything like that. He just needs the anti-air, the ground-to-air long range that Marines do not provide. Marine DPS is fantastic, but it's got nothing on range. They stim forward, realizing they were actually accidentally brought into the fight, but they don't kill anything, sadly. And it looks like Happy has broken his contain. But while this was happening, we had a drop go off. I'm sorry, I was just sitting here thinking about food, quite frankly. The command center is lifted away, and again, Happy may have lost the space, but he got his money's worth out of it. These 2 orbitals are the most awkward, dumb things ever, but they've gotten so much value out of just being alive. Now, at this point, Koss has taken a lot of bases. He realized, like, okay, I had that bit of a soft contain going up, but you know what? I should really extend my lead. Upgrades 2-1-1 to 0-0-0. Happy's not going to... he's not going to take very nice engagements is the problem. And while there's a ring of turrets up at this point, if there's 7+ medevacs boosting in, they're going to unload their cargo. Bottom line. This game looks worse and worse for Happy as time goes on. Koss is kind of maxing out. The composition at Happy is not that greatest. He doesn't even have Blue Flame to deal with the Marines too much more effectively. There's no Hellbats to buffer for the tanks. The one thing he's really got going is that air superiority bonus, but that's going to kind of start being taken away as this Thor gets involved. It's not going to take out Vikings very quickly because they're armored, but it does deal bonus damage versus Banshees. A couple of Marines actually going to pick up a Viking or 2 here. Not too shabby. Almost gets 2. Almost. Not quite. But yeah, I can't help but wonder, like, for Happy at this point, it's going to be a bit frustrating. He did manage to sneak some Hellions across the map. They get into the mineral line, and wow, they're going to get way more kills than they should have been allowed to. Again, most of Koss's kills came from killing Happy's worker line down here earlier, but still, those Hellions work towards getting him back in the game a little bit. 17 killed versus 37. I don't see the siege line being broken anytime soon. And a lot of times, classically, you think like, okay, my opponent's got a lot of siege tanks. What do? You start moving towards battlecruisers, Ravens, Vikings. But Koss can't do that. A large part of this game so far has been air superiority in the favor of Happy. So pushing forward with his army, we'll see what Koss can get done. I'm just gonna take a little bit of stretch, guys, because this could be a long one. This one's sick. That's called professionalism. Alright, Blue Flame on the way, level 2 weapons and armor both coming out. So Happy's finally getting back on that upgrade train. The problem is, and again, what's so scary is he's got this really awkward command center down here that's not going to get a lot done. It's actually rallied SCV's home. So this one that was rallied home, keep back to scout instead. I think, yeah, currently there are 5 orbitals and a fusion core made here for Koss. So he's looking to go for battlecruisers, but I don't know how well this will work out for him. Okay, so we're just kind of jumping ahead here with the theory crafting, guys. Battlecruisers beat out most of what Happy has, bottom line. There's not a lot of air to ground for him, or ground to air for him. It's just air to air. But Happy's had a really nice Viking count this entire game. It's currently 10. These can hit and run battlecruisers, and that's the reason battlecruisers kind of suck versus Vikings. But as Koss produces battlecruisers, he also gets his own Viking count up. Oh, this is a bit funny to watch. He'll chase that back. Loses a couple SCVs to this too. But battlecruisers can be equipped. Sorry. Battlecruisers can be equipped here with a Yamato cannon, which doesn't have infinite range to start, but the second you lock onto something, that's going to fire unless the battlecruiser dies. And Vikings, they're going to get one shot, bottom line. There's a lot of Marines here to cover this. It's so weird to consider going forward, but I think battlecruisers, if he can get enough of them, will be effective. But right now, because of his supply cap, I don't think he's going to have enough initially, so he may need to give away some of these Marines. So that's what we kind of see setting up here. A Doom drop, but it's supposed to be an expendable Doom drop. There's actually not a lot of turrets. He could blanket these tanks. He could literally carpet bomb these tanks. I think that's what he's going to do. And this is going to clear up a lot of his supply, a lot of the BS that he hasn't needed at this point. Medevacs are all going to go down. He knows this. He breaks the left side of the siege line. Sieges up himself on the right side. Command center's lifted. Happy. He may not even have time to worry about battlecruisers because he loses his third base. And at this stage, he's not been maxed. As a mech player, he's barely on that third command center. He needed that fourth base. Geysers more than anything the minerals could offer, but still, just he's absolutely poor. He is the 99%, if you will. Happy just has no money to work with. And Cass is this big conglomerate coming from the, I don't know, tides of like Ukraine. What am I getting at here? These references are off the wall. Forget I said anything, but the reality is this really scary battlecruiser army just became more scary because Happy no longer has the production capabilities to match that of Cass's. So eventually Cass's own Vikings will overwhelm that of Happy's. He's focus firing down the Vikings very much so on purpose. He wants to reduce the anti-air, and now with only one Viking remaining, as soon as those battlecruisers come marching across the map, it's going to be curtains for Happy. Koss may not realize just how far ahead he is, but he knows that he's waiting for these battlecruisers. 4 more finish up in a moment's time. Level 3 air weapons will be complete too, and he has completed Yamato cannon. This is so rough. Ukraine, because Koss is Ukrainian, guys. That was the joke. Happy's Russian, I think, unless I'm mixing those up and getting it backwards. I don't know. I could be at this point. If I am, then I'm just an asshole. But yeah, the battlecruisers are looking a little too scary. Slap an Apple logo on them. Call them corporations. Whatever you want them to be. Koss's bank has just been too good. And as he moves forward here, I just don't see a way for Happy to stop this. 1 Viking, 2 Ravens. Immediately sees it, and GG's. Koss will take game number 1 in this best of 3. Fuck, I gotta go to the bathroom so bad, guys.